Hello, I'm Layne Hartsell with the Korea IT Times, and I'm here with Mary Brennan of FORUS Digital. She's a acting CEO and one of the co-founders. Hi, Mary. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I had been interested in some of your work related to community finance and what we call practical community finance, as I understand it from you. And I want to just speak to, we're so caught up with the larger macroeconomic systems, that's in the news, and rightly so. But I wanted to focus in on what people are doing at the community level and how, a lot of innovation is happening at, small to medium enterprises. So first, let me ask, how did you get involved with community finance?
So, I think that FORUS Digital has been designed to enable, um, you know, community financing at scale, essentially. So a large part of why FORUS has come into being has been to address getting finance to small and micro farmers and entrepreneurs and small businesses and merchants. So that was the purpose behind setting up the platform in the first instance. So I think that just to sort of give you a quick high level on the platform that we've created, we're using central bank issued digital currency, CBDC, or a synthetic CBDC in every region we're operating in. And we're using, a high-speed blockchain, and we've created what we call a debit network, a payments platform, which we can then roll out to across communities. And we've also created an off-card solution for areas where there are no communications or people don't have access to data or devices. So we can get to the last mile when it comes to payments facility, payments infrastructure. In our community in South Africa and a number of the countries we're working in, a number of people are excluded from the financial system, from the national payment system. They just don't have the means to participate. A lot of the old models are transaction fee based, so it excludes a number of people from just having that functionality. So in order to do the financing of the micro businesses and the micro and the small farmers, we needed a payment infrastructure that we could securely lend and place the money in the right place, and then receive the return on the platform as well.
And you formed FORUS with 4 or 5 other people. And what state is it in right now? Are you all are getting ready to? Yeah.
So FORUS, not 4 or 5 other people. FORUS is a big
It's a big
ecosystem.
Network, right. But the
Big
founders.
network.
Right.
Yes. So Sonny Fisher is the founder of FORUS. He's the architect of the system, of the technology, and we have a number of. So we've got the payments technology, and then we also have digital assets where we are creating an exchange for capital markets to invest in securely regulated digital tokenized instruments that then we can make available to both capital markets to invest as well as the retail market. So there's the payment platform, there's the impact investment platform. And then what we've done is we've created a digital cooperative for all the different user groups that we are engaging with. Merchants, we have what we call our Maven network, which is people who have a wide variety of specializations who essentially will be assisting us as we collaborate to create new communities that are using different tools and instruments. So we've got people that are, so those are individuals, professionals, people in education, people with specialization in technology or sustainability or energy or something unique, but also just recognize that the way that we're going to bring the economies from the ground up at scale is going to be through large collaborations. So we're bringing in corporates as well as individuals, as well as small businesses and specialists. So that's one of the groups and that's essentially running in a cooperative manner. So each category of users will have a cooperative that look after the platform rules for their sector. So we're a very large ecosystem. There are a handful of us that have been working on it at the core for about 5 years. Sunny's been working on this for 12 years, and a number of our partners have been along the journey for as long. And then a number of us have been working on it for the last 6 years or so, just bringing in the last rounds of technology and preparing all the the go-to-markets in the different regions, and working with all the large user groups, because the main challenge to bringing a platform like this to market is that you need to have everybody using it. So in other words, if you pay somebody using our technology, they need to be able to go to their local retailer and cash out, or pay or buy, or they need to be able to pay each other. So it needs to be done at scale. And so the way that we are bringing it to market is through utility. So the minibus taxi industry in South Africa, for example, is 12-seater vehicles that transport the majority of the population to and from work and school. And those kind of industries, you bring a use case, you bring a solution to everybody, and then that's how we're onboarding people through a real utility. They're not only we're not saying, here, sign up, this is a good idea. It's about financing, energy infrastructure, or rolling out a taxi solution, or taking a savings club and letting them organize themselves using the community wallets and the technology. So it's all through use cases. And we have actually built up a market of 100 million people across the world that we are preparing our go lives with in a couple of regions.
So let me ask you first about the technology, and then we can move to this network, because the network is really, really key. For example, like Yochi Binkler at Harvard talks about the network effect in his book called The Wealth of Networks. Very, very fascinating how this happens. It's very key. So you're using blockchain technology with cryptography. This is a security mechanism. Can you just tell a little bit about that? Yeah.
Absolutely. We have our blockchain, and our technology is completely encrypted, and access to everything is on a permission basis. So it's public and private blockchain. And we're providing that to everybody essentially as a public utility. So we're going to be enabling people to develop out, using our APIs, develop out their wallets and solutions, and using that blockchain in a permissioned manner, according to the rules of their entity themselves. And key to essentially what we are doing is we've created the secret sauce here on a level is we've created what we call the SQR. So the QR technology, quick response code technology, Sunny developed that 10 years ago. And one of our major banks in South Africa now has using it on a daily basis. But what he realized quite quickly was that in order for that to scale mainstream everywhere, it needed to be interoperable. So he's invented a methodology, or a program that essentially you can, and he's made this Creative Commons so that everybody can use it, but that the identity becomes a QR code, and it's secure based on a number of factors in the, you have completely vetted identity. So in order to be legally compliant and prevent money laundering and criminal activity using this technology, you need to know who is who. So identity becomes key. And that identity needs to be owned by the individual and then permissioned to anybody else in terms of any information that they take or get access to. So key to our platform is secure identity. So as somebody would onboard for a use case, they would go through a KYC, or know your customer process. Depending on the utility of that, what they're going to use that service for, and where they are geolocated, would inform what KYC requirements would be in place so that they would be compliant in their legal jurisdiction and with regards to the services that they're using. So, for example, when it comes to our investments platform, and layers of investment and layers of transaction, what that essentially enables us to do is to also use those QR codes, those secure QR codes, in digital media, in content distribution, for a number of utilities. People can just scan, and as long as you know that you can't be spoofed. The problem with the traditional QR code is that it can be spoofed. You can just slide another one in there, and the money can go in a different direction.
They take it.
So,
right.
Absolutely. It's a bit like getting the 2 blue ticks on a WhatsApp, or that secure SSP code on your internet. Essentially, we've done that for mobile. So we know that if this money is going from A to B, the merchant can be sure that it's a vetted person that's giving them the money, that the money is not coming from nefarious sources. So that's a key component to the platform as well. Yeah, so identity is very, very important. And I think that's one of the main things we've solved for.
And you also, within your technical system, you have a wallet, and you have a very unique way for revenue sharing and advertisements that are selective to the person who, according to what we would choose, rather than ads being forced on us. Can you talk about this?
Sure, yeah. I think one of the key things to be solved at the design stage was how do we, there's an acronym in the name of FORUS. So it's free, open, real-time, ubiquitous, and secure. Ubiquitous was the hardest thing to achieve. Free is in the model, and essentially it's a race to free across our banking system. There is still bank charges everywhere, but it is a race to free. It is a race to zero cost transactions. But essentially, in order to digitize cash, so that's what we've done through using CBDC, you need to make it as free. So in other words, I need to be able to receive the cash, and it mustn't cost me anything to pay you with my cash, even if it's digital.
Right.
So free is essential to financial inclusion. It simply just has to be free. So to use the platform, and you have to have complete control of money that's in your wallet. So nobody, even if you do put on a debit order system onto the wallet, you have to be able to pin it out yourself. You have to have control of your wallet completely and absolutely. So so the model then became a revenue sharing model. So how are we going to finance this whole infrastructure? Because essentially we're bringing financial market infrastructure to everywhere. So how are we going to finance that? And the model is called, we call it adverb buying. So advertising, but when you purchase. So the revenue gets generated on a purchase. What we do is if somebody pays for something, as far as a shop or a taxi or anywhere, they get an email, and in that email is a very targeted receipt. Could be for insurance, could be for an investment, could be for shoes or tomatoes, anything, but based on that profile. And if the customer purchases from that advert, in that moment, then there's a revenue generated in the form of the commission, and that is split across our ecosystem to our regulators, not the regulators, to the licenses, our own coin, which is our staking instrument, and the different players that have brought that transaction together. So essentially, there has been a value add because somebody made a sale, somebody got a purchase. So at that point, there's a revenue generated, and that's what we use. And you don't need a huge ARPU. If you've got 100 million customers, you don't need a very high revenue per user to finance that infrastructure. It's all web-based. It's all, so what we're financing there is also the things like, so we'll be using that for other things, so in other words, to do the investment, to ensure that when we do invest, we've got proper mentorship, we've got skills going down at the same time as placing finance and things like that. So it's a very, very well-designed model, and it stakes everybody in the right direction. So the economic activity that drives, it's almost like I call it a bit regenerative, the financing, and the way that we've it's rewarding the right behavior. If you think it's not just a click fee.
I have two other questions. One is, how could this system be gamed? So what kind of pitfalls do you see out there? And it sounds like you've covered a lot of those. But say, for example, today, Bitcoin is very expensive to send, to use for cash, right? So I couldn't just buy it like a drink or something, right? But it's very good for like digital gold. This is what the analysts say.
Exactly.
So in that,
exactly. No, it's been modeled on that, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it has been modeled on digital gold. Bitcoin was modeled on the properties of gold. The mining was designed in. So what we've done is totally different. We're taking fiat, essentially what we're taking is the current infrastructure, the fiat currencies, and we're digitizing those. So in Thailand, it's the baht, in South Africa, it's the rand. We call it the rand X or the baht X or whatever. So we've got a digital version of that currency, and we're not creating that money. We are, if a country is issuing it, fine, we'll use theirs. If we're issuing it, then we do it through a regulated financial service provider, and there is 1 rand for every 1 rand that's on our platform. It's completely, so we're not using a new, no, we're using fiat currency as a one. And the other thing we're doing is we're creating financial instruments that are traded as they would be traded on a traditional stock exchange. So it's regulated, securitized revenue streams or equities, debt-based instruments. And then we're using the technology to mitigate risk along the path. So, we are using a decentralized finance tools and principles, but using traditional capital market instruments in a digital way. So we're back to basics on a lot of levels. And the other main revenue source I just want to add in as well that we didn't cover earlier was the other main revenue source. So it's the advert buying, and the other is revenue-based finance. So revenue-based finances means we're a no interest platform. We don't charge interest to our, when we invest into communities or projects, it's on a revenue share, it's not on an interest. So that way you're all staked in the same direction. You've got to put down enough material, resource and support to ensure that business is heading in the right direction. And then you take a return from the top line. And that way, again, you're staking everyone in the same direction. It's essentially Islamic finance.
It sounds like the Islamic, right? I was going to say that.
It is Islamic finance. I think Sunny spent quite some time in Southeast Asia and in the Maldives as well.
Yes,
and at that time, everybody said, let's just call it ethical finance because there's so many.
So you have
but it is essentially.
You have a Mahala X coin also. How does this fit into your system?
So essentially that's our way of including staking our community into what we're doing. So we do have a free. The platform is free, but we have a pay once and done model. So in other words, we encourage everybody to just put a little tiny bit in at the top, which then creates the capital assets, which then creates the amount that so we can start getting finance into our own finance into the economy. So we have so at that point, if somebody becomes a member of FORUS, joins the digital cooperative as such, then they acquire a small piece of our coin, and 20% of everything and like the Mavens get a few coins, and we're staking it across the ecosystem. And essentially, every time the platform makes money through the advert buying, 20% goes to the coin. So that's a way of saying, everyone's in it. We're all going to all the money that gets generated, everybody participates on a level. And we very hesitant to say we would like to see what that can generate in terms of in some of the communities, like sort of a basic income over time. Once the whole platform's going at scale and there's economy going, then that could result in a nice little something for everybody.
And participatory finance.
Participatory, yes, absolutely. And so, and the other thing we're doing as well with the advertising is quite unique, is that everybody can advertise for free now, essentially, because they're only paying for a result. So a small merchant in a community that has excess stock, let's say it's got a whole bunch of tomatoes and they've got to move, can target that geolocation at a sale rate quickly to move that stock.
I see.
And so that's going to revolutionize the power of buying and selling power of people. And at the same time, those same small merchants can now participate in an escrow facility where, for example, you've got a beader or somebody that does high craft work that's in a rural place can now securely transact with somebody from somewhere else, whereas before they were just completely excluded from that market completely. So there's a number of.
Yes, I want to say, of course, that as far as disclosure goes, that I am an investor in the FORUS project, and it will be on the writing. Okay, let's say, for example, Mary, that I'm a producer, like a local producer. I want to do some innovation. Like, say, maybe I'm a poultry farmer. I want to do some innovation on the internet, something. How could I approach FORUS, and how would I get involved with your project if I were a producer?
Okay, so at the moment, we have got a large number of projects we're working with that are going to be going live as we go, and they're big projects. But what we're doing is, our platform is going to have what we call our meta portal now, and people will be able to apply to different funds. So we have big projects that we're rolling with, that we've been working with for years, like a number of years, that are rolling out at scale. But we also will have what we're doing, regional funds. So then people can apply, and then our Maven committees will look at those and say, okay, this is valuable. Let's move that forward that far. Let's move this forward. Let's help them get there. So we're creating a collaborative funding, online collaborative funding tool for everybody. So we're demonstrating with our first project how it works and how we get the money safely from capital markets to the project and back. And we're tracking impact all the way. And then now we'll be opening it up to the larger market to apply directly through the portals.
I've got here seed banks, new energy, community innovation. I mean, this could be this is like, go ahead, a manifold, a kind of hub, and then people develop around this.
Absolutely. So what people, once they come into the portals, they have access to all sorts of skills, expertise, and technology. And for example, we can now tokenize anything really, essentially any instrument that we design. So in our country, in South Africa, it's recently become possible for communities to legally own their own infrastructure. So now we can create an investment token that everybody can participate in, everybody holds in their wallet. And when that infrastructure starts generating revenue, the return can be returned to everybody in real time, transparently. It's going to revolutionize everything. If you have a big farm, we're doing work in a number of new sectors in South Africa, including cannabis and hemp. And if you have a farm and you have an agreement with your community or your workers, and they take a stake, you can actually, everybody can see what's happening in real time, and the returns can be distributed equitably, fairly, and transparently using it's incredible what the technology can do in terms of just liberating us from old constraints in a lot of ways. Sure. And it's all around transparency and being able to transact cleanly in a way where everybody's kind of knows what's going on. And that's going to basically enable us to move forward in a number of ways.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for talking with me today. This is Layne Hartsell. I've been speaking with Mary Brennan of FORUS Digital in South Africa. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Layne.